I am very
Right.
excited for Filthy Island as someone who just got out of MMA coverage personally and hired an MMA editor because I was so sick of
Right.
dealing with that. Um, if we don't see Tom Lawler put together a media hit piece after this, I feel like somebody's dropped the ball. Like this is, I'm very
Yeah.
excited for Filthy Island. Please tell me anything about this.
This is something we started planting the seeds to, I think last June on our, like, we did like these digital shorts every week called Pulp Fusion to kind of like have connective tissue before pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, just keep our guys active out there. And one of the things we started having kind of sprinkling some breadcrumbs around was Filthy Island. And Tom was talking about, the Von Erichs had for why he's going to have Filthy Island. And of course, right around that time, UFC was doing Fighter Island or Fight Island. And what would Tom Lawler's version of this look like? And we really had some fun kind of mapping that out. And by the time it came that we could actually start filming again, those ideas started to become more realistic. And, where will this be? What island will it be? You're just going to have to stay tuned to see. But it's probably not going to be as pretty as Fight Island. Yaz Island is not. It's not going to be Yaz Island, unfortunately. Will it be Staten Island? You'll have to wait and see. No, they'll probably be palm trees. They might be inflatable. I don't know, but no, it'll be a tropical setting, and you'll have to see which island we end up going with. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and again, it's just different weird things to do, tentpole programming, and do fun shows out of the norm. So it just doesn't feel like. When you don't have a crowd, you have to find ways to just shake it up and kind of keep it fresh so it doesn't feel redundant visually.
See, I like many others, even though I knew it wasn't a realistic thing for the UFC to have a cage on a beach and do fights. I mean, well,
it looks pretty.
Yeah. They did their best, but I think there were a lot of people that thought this was going to be like Mortal Kombat on the beach or something like that, and it was not that. That's just not realistic.
No. I once exec produced a UFC Fight Pass that we did for a company that was off the strip in Vegas. It was an outdoor show in September, and it was around twilight when we were supposed to start filming the fights we were going to start. And the guys go out there, the athletic commission, just to they check everything. And they're checking the cage, and they look at the canvas, and it's been totally exposed to the desert sunlight for hours.
Yes.
Like, if someone put their barefoot on there, their feet will melt. And so they had to run and scramble and inject cold air, these big tunnels, just blowing cold air, and tarp the top for like 45 minutes. And they just had to delay with a lot of like a very lengthy preamble on camera for the broadcast team. Just really gave great analysis for a very, very long time until the commission would clear the cage so the fighters could go in there. It would be cool enough. It was just been sitting there absorbing heat all day.
My God. You never know how those types of things you can prepare for, but it takes like almost like an experience like that to prepare for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and I've always heard, I remember Bruce Pritchard used to tell the great story about Yokozuna on the Intrepid, and I guess, that thing was just the same situation. It was just July 4th, and the sun was just absorbing that heat, and poor Yoko had to endure that. Guys would bump and run the hell out of there.
Speaking of preparation, I talked to a bunch of MLW stars when you all did the restart about the tapings, how that went,
right.
And they were really putting over the COVID protocols. Like they were talking about how safe you were keeping people, and quite frankly, we've seen some companies that are not doing that. We've seen some companies that are just like, get your temp check, come on out here. But you guys, it seemed like you all went the extra mile. What all went into that? Because I mean, I know that's again uncharted territory.
Yeah, it really was one of those things where we really took a lot of time really going and doing our due diligence. And there were companies that got it right. There was companies that got it wrong. There's companies that were so-so. And then we talked to entertainment, a few film companies, one out of Canada, to see what their protocols were during this. We spoke with New Japan, who did a great job of their tapings and what their criteria was. And they were very helpful and forthcoming with that. And I hired a COVID compliance officer, which basically took all the responsibility and all the temptation the promoter has to look the other way out of my hands and put it in his hands, and he was the boss. So in a sense, if something wasn't right, if someone needed to sit out, that was all on him. He would just notify us. And he had his own staff for testing and doing all the things you need to do, and afterwards giving everyone the appropriate paperwork if they needed it for various reasons. And that really right there just made it easy for us, just having someone that's certified, that knows what they're doing. And it's such a fluid situation where the science was changing, the testing was changing like week to week at a certain point. And it still is crazy in how it's evolving, and new strains are coming out and all this. So when we did this, we had locked in tests, and then all of a sudden college football came in and just took all the tests. Like, we were supposed to get them shipped it was 10 days out. I'm like, where are our tests going to come from? And our COVID compliance officer had to find a new lab to work with and everything, and get the test from. And thankfully, he was a miracle maker, but he was really on the ball. And you see more and more companies, leagues, sports hiring COVID compliance officers, and it's very helpful. It's really helpful.
Yeah, there were a lot of wrestlers that, even a couple that went out of their way to contact me to say that they were very happy with how that went, because some of these guys are working independent shows and they didn't necessarily have, and some independent shows just don't have the funds and they just kind of got to play it by ear. But there were plenty of people that were at really, really big worldwide national companies, and they were like, they didn't take care of us. MLW did. So, I think it speaks pretty well to you guys that it didn't take a trial and error for you, or at least for you guys, to realize we got to take care of these people.
And you are playing, we are playing a little bit of Russian roulette, because we're inheriting whatever happened the week prior to us, whatever decisions were made outside of our realm. And we're hoping for the best, but we want to make sure we have another layer of protection and testing. So when they touch down, they're not even engaging one soul other than the people that are testing them, to make sure, okay, we can get a rapid test done, and then we'll do, further testing. But, that's the problem, guys traveling all over the place, what's going on elsewhere. You're not in control of that. You can't control that. And you don't want to pull those guys from the bookings, because bookings now more than ever are scarce. So you're just kind of like, I'll tell you, we were all very nervous, because if someone gets pulled from a show, all right, how's the booking work? How's the booking algebra work to now subtract that guy and I have to add someone else, and how's that work? It was very stressful, and we got lucky. I think, including production, crew, staff, and talent, it was like 78 people routinely tested, and we were, we tested them vigorously, and we were happy that they came back with negative tests every time. They could have come back positive, and that would have meant the system worked too. But we were just very fortunate that they came back negative, and we were very, forward thinking. Even with the production truck, we had plexiglass between each crew member, so the EVS ops had like a kind of like a makeshift telephone booth in between them, kind of. So you try to have what you can in terms of precautions, and clean the ring in between matches and all these kind of things. It slowed down production, but it was just essential to do it.
We even saw WWE taping mass pieces of content earlier in 2020. When you all do that, and every company's pretty much doing it. Every company outside of WWE right now is taping at least a few weeks at a time. I don't want you to really reveal if you had any positive tests, but do you already have creative contingency plans in place if this person tests positive or not? Because that could affect weeks, if not months, of programming for you guys.
Yeah, and you really can't all of a sudden just, okay, an injury sometimes you can work around it and show a guy he just lay down and act like he's been attacked or something. Once you pop a test, it's you just have to be quarantined. So you don't even have the luxury of a real ride out. So it's, most guys, we would just basically just say, hey, he tested positive, so he's out, and this is the substitute. There's certain, monsters and stuff, like if Matt Kruger tested positive, God forbid, I don't know if we do that. He might just kind of mysteriously go back into the shadows, and Joseph Samael will explain he's training or creating something evil. So I think for the most part, we have it kind of figured out. And you can't really overplan it, because there's so many moving parts that if you start to get too specific this far out, you're just going to screw yourself.
So